Welcome to the latest episode of the Strategic Procurement Department's Small and Local Business Show. And with us today, we have an incredible public servant. We have the LaWanda Wright. How you doing, LaWanda?
I'm wonderful, Manny. Thank you for having me.
The Section Chief for Business Outreach and Education in Miami-Dade County, which is amazing. I mean, over 2 decades worth of experience helping out our small and local businesses right here in Miami-Dade County. So talk to us about that journey, because you were born in Dade, raised in Dade, and now serving that same community that helped bring you up. How does that feel?
Actually, it feels really good. I came from the private sector. I was in real estate investment, and my mother was a county employee, always bragging about, the county. And so I came in as a training specialist, actually, to do training for the small business program. And I have slowly but surely, moved up into section chief. And so working with the business community has been a very rewarding experience. It's a passion of mine. I've done this one job in my 23 years, and I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to helping more businesses in this community.
And that's amazing, because I think that passion that you bring, I saw it firsthand when I started in Miami-Dade County almost 2 years now. One of my first meetings was with LaWanda, and I remember you popping in, and we had a group from Northwest Dade, and you jumped in. You're like, hey, this is what we got to do, this. And I was like blown away by your energy, your love, and your passion, and the amount of success stories that you've been a part of, right? So talk to us about the importance of keeping those dollars here in our community, that passion that you have, because, I mean, I think it was Carolina the other day, tell me her story, how she started, and at first she was so nervous, and she went from a solo entrepreneur to now somebody who has multiple offices everywhere doing amazing. But like that, throughout your over 2 decades of public service, I'm sure there's a lot of stories.
It is good and some not so good. But the key is, I tell everybody, doing business with the government is doable. Now, it may not be for everyone, but it is doable. And so to see companies that either have been around for a very long time and say, now I want to tap into government sector, and they come in and they're open to and willing to learn, even though they've been around for many years. But working in the government is different from the private sector. Whether you're a mom and pop or you're a company with 100 plus employees, dealing with the government is very different. And so what I pride myself in, and my team, is just helping them navigate and understanding. We don't expect for you to understand everything, but when we advise you and guide you as your advocate, it helps them to navigate and know the things to look for, the questions to ask, to be responsible in their bidding, knowing and their worth and their capacity. And so I've seen businesses literally come in. I saw a business come in, grow so fast they had to stop. They almost lost everything, and they just had to regroup. And they took their time and saying, okay, we're obviously in a good market. And they slowly but surely took it where they said, let's tap into this first. Let's make sure we're good at this first. And so they scaled up a little bit slower, but they grew beyond the program, which is a great thing. We want our firms to graduate from the program. And so, I've even seen companies come in and say, it's too much for me. You have to know your capacity. You got to know what you can do. You have to know what your staff can do. And I can respect a business owner that says, I'm not ready for this quite yet, and willing to go do some other smaller type contracts and come back later. So I've kind of seen it all, but I love the success stories. I even love the ones that say, you know what, I just can't, because they're being honest with themselves as a business owner.
That's amazing, because I think that's hard, right? Because everybody wants to know, we want this contract, that contract, but you got to perform, right? And
yes.
And that's part of the work that you do, is education, right? It's not only going out there talking about all the services, getting them register, but educating folks, because a lot of times people think that they're ready for all these opportunities, and you might not be ready.
And they really may not be ready. And so one of the things we say to the business, go and do your due diligence. Look and see what we've been contracting for. If it's in your industry, see what those contracts consisted of. Because if you see already the contracts for the last 10, 12 years have been in a manner where you can't even tap into that right now, then you still have some other work to do, or you still have some readiness to prepare for. But then there's sometimes when you say, oh, I can do that with my eyes closed. That's fine. However, you got to know the specifications that are in that contract. There are legislations that we must adhere to, and so do the small businesses. And sometimes they don't think that matters. It really does. The fine print matters in government, definitely.
100%. So Talking about legislation, why is it so important? I know why, but I want the folks to understand from you, why is it so important to have legislation that protects our small businesses and has a certain amount of contracts that have to go to small business? Because I hear it sometimes where there's governments throughout the country that kind of don't care about small businesses, and they contract with national firms, and they don't realize that they're actually removing money from their communities, right? And they're going elsewhere. But if you can get deep into that, because I think you've seen that firsthand of that importance of legislation that protects our small and local businesses.
And so the legislation came into play because we had commissioners and mayors and politicians that cared about growing our local economy. Yes, your local businesses, small businesses are the heart of a community, but what are you doing to grow that? And so what our legislation has done is say a minimum of county spending, not the ceiling, a minimum must be carved out and awarded to a small business. So of course that means we're recruiting for those businesses. But when we say minimum, that means if there is a $30 million contract and they don't have the capacity for that, our job is to still find a way to give them a piece of that pie, right? And so the legislation says, this is how we do this. This is why we do this as a government entity, but this is what the businesses have to adhere to also. So there's, requirements on both sides. What that also then does is it gives them an opportunity to hire people, put food on the table. It gives them a chance to partner with other businesses. So you don't have to be the only one to get the opportunity. You can share that opportunity by partnering with others. And so then it governs having a minimum participation. It also says they got to get paid. If they have an approved invoice, we're supposed to pay our certified firms within 14 days of an approved invoice. It says that they have to be in compliance with doing the due diligence if they're saying they're subcontracting out. All those things are in the legislation that we mandate and we're mandated by. And so it is a holistic program of growing the business, keeping them within the guidelines of this is what the law says, but even then helping them with additional resources that they need just to be a viable business in general.
Oh, very true. And one of the aspects that's really interesting is the certification process, because a lot of people think, hey, what if a large corporation comes here and they open up a small office and this, and that's one of the reasons why we have the certification process, to make sure that doesn't happen, and that if you are truly a small business, you all verify that. So talk to us about that process.
So about 10 years ago, and I don't know if everybody remembers that, we had a lot of companies bum rushing South Florida. This is when you had the real estate boom, everything happened. So people were shifting, and they were setting up shop here overnight and coming and trying to take all the business. Well, that's not fair to the businesses that's been here for a while. So legislation has a mandate that they have to have a Miami-Dade County local business tax receipt and in service for at least 1 year before applying for certification. That way, it's just someone coming in new, setting up shop, can't take away that business from our local businesses that's been here for a while. And so that was one program we had on one of our certifications, our goods and services, and we put legislation in place to put it across the board. So it's for construction, it's for architecture, engineering, and so you have to have, a stake in the game, meaning you have to be here for at least, and that was 1 year. If your business has been around for a while, get that local business tax receipt, have that for at least 1 year, then come in and apply the certification, because we want to make sure these local businesses, the money stays here. We know there are big projects. We don't, there's major big projects that have come that we may not have enough locals or large enough locals, but still we get to carve out a piece of that for our small and local businesses. And so things are put in place to protect the local businesses, but also to give everybody an opportunity still.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think one of the things that I love about you, LaWanda, is that you figure it out. Like the other day we were talking about FIFA and folks who wanted to contract with FIFA. And obviously it's pretty hard, right? FIFA's requirements sometimes are really, 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 really tough. And you're like, well, wait a second. There's other opportunities outside of, just directly, a contract with them. There's going to be an incredible impact here, and you yourself, we're helping folks. So how important is it for some of these businesses to understand, like, opportunities like FIFA? You want to contract with them, but there's going to be a lot of other opportunities.
And so this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, right? FIFA comes, the Super Bowl is here for a week. FIFA is going to be for 33 days. And so one of the things we've been going on the road and telling our local businesses is, yes, everybody wants an opportunity. Will everybody get one? No. But the impact that's coming to South Florida, the amount of people, we're going to have so much going on that, and I think we talked about if you're a barber, you should be setting up shop somewhere. Social media should know that, you're running a special for those that are here for whatever country tournament that's happening that day, and they can be in different places. A cleaning business can be working with, and I'm giving out some trade secrets now, can be working.
Check it out. Make sure you tune in. This is it.
Listen, a cleaning business can be working with Airbnbs, cleaning for them, offices. People are going to be coming in looking for stuff. And so this is the time our local businesses need to say, you know what? I want to eat not only when FIFA comes, but before and after a FIFA, right? And so we eat by partnering, tapping into resources and partners that you don't normally think about, but saying we all got a chance to serve these almost 1 million people coming to South Florida, right? And so I tell people, just think about what you do. Who needs that? If you're in a line of businesses that everyone needs that service, even if they're only here for a week, for a game, they may need your service. Hairstylists, salons. I met a young lady the other day. She's going to do a one-day setup where people may be flying in to do their clients' hair who are here.
That's awesome.
It's just those type of creative things that you can do to still make some good money here locally.
And talking about creative, a lot of folks know what construction is, right? What it covers. A lot of folks know the A&E side. But goods and services, a lot of people don't understand the breadth of goods and services that the county has, from helicopter parts, gasoline, food that the animals get fed at Zoo Miami. So talk to us a little bit about that and why it's so important for folks to register as a vendor, get their SPE, because there's so many opportunities here, especially in goods and services, that people might not know.
It's our largest market. They think construction is not. Construction has big projects. Goods and services are day-to-day, everyday things the county employees need, the community needs. We have to service this community. We as employees need services, right? And so, as you stated, whether it's something the zoo need, people don't realize at the airport and the seaport are county departments. They have needs. They're revamping and renovating. But I just talked to someone the other day. We need crematory services. You don't think about that, right? But somebody has to take care of the unclaimed bodies. Crematory services, towing services, mechanic. We have a fleet of cars, and we only have a few actual county facilities to manage that. So we have contracts for automotive mechanic services. Installation of lighting on the street lights. Transit needs that. There is everything you can possibly think of. Recycle bins, we need more of those. Bubble wrapping certain vehicles, that service. There may not be a lot of those contracts, but that's a major contract. Marketing services, promotional items. Even when solid waste can't do it, it's outsourcing. But this is something a lot of people forget. We live in sunny South Florida, right? Hurricane season starts June 1st. We have emergency contracts for disasters. Please do not wait until June 1st. Please don't wait until the disaster hit, because we can't do anything then. But registering as a vendor now, becoming certified now for those emergency type situations, you're on a list. So what happens is, hurricane hits, we need debris removals, right? Immediately, we go to the list and start calling those people who are already registered and pre-qualified for those lists. You can't come and try to get on the list then. It's too late. And we just call those folks because when you're on an emergency list, it means you have to respond within 24 hours. Wow. You're on that list because you're ready for that emergency. And so, we don't have enough companies for hauling, for debris removal, for cleanup, for PP&E. We all learned during COVID. We have some now, but we never knew we were going to need that magnitude of those type of things. And so you got to do it now so you're not trying to get ready later on. So those becoming registered right now, and you could be a registered vendor to say, hey, county, I exist. This is what I want to sell you. And then small business certification gives you that additional opportunity and advantage.
It's amazing. That's amazing. And that's incredible information for the folks that are going to be watching from home. And in those over 2 decades of public service, talk to us about some of the success stories. And you don't have to say names or which companies, but I think there's so many examples. Maybe pick 2 or 3 of them that you want to share as an example of somebody who walked into County Hall, didn't know anything, didn't know anybody, got educated, and then now, they graduated from the program.
Listen, great stories. One of them, the first ones I would share is, this is an actual partner of ours. going around town with our workshops and our outreach, providing services to the businesses. And he kept hearing how much we were talking about opportunities and looking for opportunities and where you can go and who had what. And one day he said, you know what, I'm going to establish this business. And he waited a year with his LBT, got certified, started providing things like recycle bins, batteries, trailers, whatever he had the capacity to provide to the county. Has completely grown his business, as a single parent is what I'll say. He'll know what I'm talking about. Who went from trying to realize how he was going to manage being a single father to his daughter works in the business. She has everything she needs. And to see him coming, I know he's going to question anything that he doesn't know, which is what we teach businesses, question it. Because it's preparing him for another opportunity, and he's doing well. And he's bringing on other companies to get certified now. And so reaching back, I love that. There was a construction company that literally was clueless as far as, okay, they knew to do their trade. They needed more operational help. So because one of our partners dealt with the back office, they got into that. They began to start working on contracts as a subcontractor at first. Next thing you know, they were able to become a prime and then sub out to others. And they went from just doing business with Miami-Dade County, not just the Tri-County, and now they're nationally doing major AC, HVAC work, like in other states, with the feds, in other countries, you name it. Graduated out of our program, but doing great, successful work. So I love those type of stories. I will say this, both companies learned some lessons along the way. They learned a lesson, and they kept moving forward. This lesson did not stop them and say, okay, I can't do this anymore. But you got to learn, from the lesson and keep moving. And they did. And I love to see when someone said, oh, such and such sent me to come get certified, and that person no longer does business with us because they've outgrown the program. I love that.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And that's a great lesson, because once you're a small business and you get a contract with Miami-Dade County, the sky's the limit. So you heard it here, folks. Make sure you get educated, you get certified, get your registrations, go through the education process. And once you get even a small piece, that's like the gold standard on your resume going throughout the country. So I think those are incredible moments. And as you see things evolving in terms of, now one of the challenges I think our department has and the county has, that sometimes we get preempted, right? Mm-hmm. So now we have to be nimble and figure out other opportunities. I know there's some challenges even with construction, different types of certification that is not in our control. How do we pivot and keep making sure that there's more and more opportunities for those small businesses out there? And
so our programs are not a best kept secret. People think, I'm not going to share it with anybody, but the more businesses we have in the program, the more opportunities we can carve out. So yes, we've had a major situation with construction industry, and we've had to pivot, but the work hasn't gone away. And so that's what I try to tell businesses, and all the changes that's happening federally, statewide, locally, the work has not gone away. And so the pivoting is, who do I partner with now? Who do I work with? Who else is doing this? We're county government, and I say we're the umbrella. What are the municipalities doing? They have a lot of work that they're able to do. And so tapping into those municipalities, working and looking at partnerships. And I said your business is like a tree, right? So we have a branch, you have a tree, and then you have a branch. You probably have 4 other ways of doing your business that you haven't even thought about. And so whether you are a plumbing company who now is selling plumbing supplies also. Who needs plumbing supplies? Everybody does. And so just encouraging the businesses to look at their business in a way where it's just not one thing. Look at that tree and see where the other branches are, and seeing who's and everything that every city or county does in the state of Florida is under the Sunshine Law, which means you can go and ask, can I see the contract you did 5 years ago in this area? Are you guys planning to do this again? And that gives you information and insight. So now you know what we used to do and what we're looking at doing now, and what those potential costs were then compared to what they should be now. And so we have to, it can be scary, but it's doable. Saying, okay, I'm doing this now, they're shifting this, but I'm going to add this line of business to my business, and I'm going to begin to do this. I'm going to now start working with this city. And you may see cities who have needs for things that they're not doing anything. Introduce it to them. We can't be afraid to speak up. We know what we want to see in our community, so ask for what we want. You just may be the business that do it for them.
That is you have to be your own advocate.
You have to.
You know,
but we'll advocate also for you, definitely.
That's
definitely.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, LaWanda, as you look towards the future, what's some advice, perspective, motivation to that next LaWanda Wright that, was born in South Dade, was raised, went to Miami-Dade, super excited, wants to get into public service. What's some advice that you would share to that young kid that might be watching this and gets inspired to come to Miami-Dade County and do some
I would actually say to a young person, you can start now. You don't have to wait. A lot of times we just follow the path of what our parents said, go to school, get your education, get that good government job. But nowadays, and our youth and they're entrepreneurs themselves. And so don't be afraid. We can learn from the youth. But if you're also a seasoned person like myself, it's okay to start over. It's okay to say, I have a passion for something, I have a personal pet peeve for something, and turn that into your profit. And so when we think about the things we love, what can we do in that manner? When we think about things that we don't like, what can we do to fix it? Be a part of the solution. So that can go for any age group, any person in any industry. And do it with excitement. And when it's no longer fun, do something else. We just can't be afraid.
No, that is very. Actually, I met with a gentleman today. He's in his early 60s, and he's getting to retire and looking around. He didn't know what to do. He started doing the Pokemon trade shows. Now he runs the largest Pokemon trade show. I didn't think that was a thing. But
it's still around. It's been around for 30 years. Yeah. It seems like, I think. Yes.
So you hit it on the head. Your passion can turn into an incredible business.
It really can, yes.
So LaWanda, as we wrap up, anything else you want to touch upon? Anything else you wanted to talk
I
about?
challenge the business community in South Florida. Ask the questions. Show up. Find out what's going on. Don't just wait for someone to tell you. Find out what's going on and be a part of the solution of things that we need. We have a beautiful community with a lot of different people here. But if we just come together as business people, as persons in general, we can make this community even greater by demanding and doing what we know will work for us and our family. Because I have children and grandchildren now, and I want them to be able to say, this happened here, or I was a part of this. And so we have to be a piece of that future and that legacy.
And what is it? How cool is that when you get to drive around Miami-Dade County? You're like, man, I worked on that project. I think that's one of the greatest things about working in the county. But how does that feel?
Listen, there is a company, I have to say their name, Epic Consultants. It's in my neighborhood. I live in Richmond Heights. And the fact that they bought a building, they're working there. They're working around Miami-Dade County, but I love to go around the county and see names up of people that's building on something, someone that has an art piece that's in a building, because we have to have art in public places, of people who I've met, and I'm like, that's really nice. And so it brings a personal joy, because this is my community, and they did this in my community, and when we see that, you can't help but say, okay, I wonder how that person's doing now. Have they evolved to something bigger and greater? And so it's a great feeling. It is, at least for me, it's a great feeling, yes.
That's amazing. Any closing words?
Get registered with the county. See what it is the county is buying. If you are a business that has something that we buy, get registered. Everything that we do is virtually online as far as the process. It's completely free. And we help you with everything. We help you with the vendor registration. We help you with the small business certification. So we don't expect you coming in and understanding the complete system. We will train you and guide you at all times.
And there you have it. The great LaWanda Wright, an incredible public servant. Make sure you reach out to her. Listen to her advice. Make sure you get registered. Follow her to all the events. Get educated, because the sky's the limit right here in Miami-Dade County, as we have great public servants like LaWanda who work every single day to make sure that your businesses are growing and scaling right here in Miami-Dade County. Tune in next month to the Strategic Procurement Department's Small and Local Business Development Show. Thank you.